Welcome to the gymnasium, NASA. I complain often about it being unclear who the speaker is, but I personally think that in some cases, like opening your goddamn chapter, you probably should open with a strong line instead of declaring who's talking. It just feels a bit more. I don't know. Get that movement going. Don't argue with the starting block. I proudly announced it as we went inside. This is where the boxing club takes place. I don't know. That feels wrong. The boxing club itself is not the activity. This is where boxing takes place. This is where the boxing club is held, but not where the boxing club takes place. Might be, again, translation. Although if this is written with the perspective of being a visual novel, that doesn't explain these intermissions being as they are. Wow, he looked around, obviously impressed. A lot more spacious than I expected. That's because
it's the newest built structure of Mesozoic Private.
Warden explained. Doesn't the school have a different name? I don't know what to tell you, my friends, but Volcano High works because it's a smooth name. Mesozoic Private is clumsy. People would call it things like Meso P or Soic P or M Private. They would give it a slicker name. Mesozoic Private is too many syllables and a little too clumsy. Again, that's very subtle world building, but it gives your characters that little extra touch. Warden explained. Yeah, that's what he's doing. I get it. This is why, when you use an extremely obvious verb to declare what is being said, you use an adjective. Or an adverb. To imply something. Actually, what is an adverb? I don't know what an adverb is. Listen, I'm very stupid, okay? What is an adverb? Am I using this right? Yeah, an adverb. That's... Listen, I don't know terminology, I just know vibes.
Which is almost like 20 years ago now. Which isn't really saying much, to be honest.
This was right around the turn of the millennium then, huh? I shrug, looking at Nasser. But hey, can't complain, since we're the club who gets to use it. I'm surprised you do, instead of any of the other myriad clubs that probably need the space. Especially since boxing is really easy to condense down in terms of space. You need what? Some space for some training dummies, and a ring. And the ring does not need to be official size all the time. I'm just baffled. Considering baseball and volleyball and basketball and football might all benefit from an indoor space. I'm just saying, it's weird the boxing club got it. Unless it's like the pride of the school. Again, that'd be fun characterization or world building you can do. It might not sound like world building, but it is. You are establishing things about the world, and these things say something about the characters that live therein. The fact that Anon is apparently on the star sport team says something. Even if he doesn't know it, it says something. But hey, we can't complain, since we're the club that gets to use it. I perk up, noticing a familiar Gigantanosaurus setting up the equipment container. I mean, fair enough. Hey, Jeremy! The Gigantanosaurus perks up. Everyone is perking up. You perk up. I perk up. We all perk up. Turning to us before approaching. Jesus, man. I don't need to know that he's turning towards you. It's interesting when he's coming towards you from any other angle, but the two of us grinning as we clasp claws. That sounds painful. Again, that's not a hand. That's the nails. Shoulder bashing each other with a grunt. Well, since when are you a fucking jock, asshole? Jeremy doing the same with Warden before he took notice of Nasser. Wouldn't he note Nasser first if he's the son of the guy who runs the place, who seems to consider safety to some extent, or at least wants his equipment to be safe? Wouldn't he be a little more attentive to someone he doesn't know? Hey, you must be Nasser! He beamed as he offered a gentler claw instead. Instead of what to the new dinosaur? The shoulder bash is rough, but the handshake is not implied to be in any ways tough. So, also, in general, it's implied you're offering it instead, since you're describing it differently. Unless you want to emphasize it, I guess that's fair enough. It's good to finally meet you. The dinosaur seemed slightly intimidated by Jeremy's size, awkwardly accepting his handshake as Ward and I looked from the side. I don't care. Good to meet you too? Name's Jeremy, the big dino man answered, thumbing his chest. Student and assistant coach of the boxing club. Jeremy, Nasa murmured, now smiling as they finished the claw shake. I think I heard of you from the other contenders. They say you're actually competing for almost all events for the sophomore league. Dang, man's up there.
Yep.
Jeremy nodded. That's amazing, Pterodactyl exclaimed before resting a claw on the back of his neck. Admittedly, I only came here to run. Not really that big of a deal. Why is Nasa so defeatist about himself? Come on, man. Perk up a little. Everyone's perking up. You might as well.
Are you kidding me? It was easy for me to decide since the school's hosting, but anyone who coming in from the outside is already moving mountains just to be here.
Jeremy gave an encouraging thumbs up.
You earned a lot of respect, my dude.
You earned a lot of respect, Chuckle Nuts. Nasa nodded bashfully. Jesus, can... Everyone here is just... Oh. Like, I get it, you're teenagers, the hormones are acting up, and you're probably thinking about kissing a guy. But just kiss already, okay? Just do it. Like the man with the clock said. No, wait. The guy who like stands... I don't even know who that is. Shia LaBeouf, right? I don't know. Nasa nodded bashfully as I looked to Jeremy. By the way, when's Coach Misha coming? The doors to the gym slammed open. A familiar ankylosaurus had brought his favorite weight to the gym. Again, I feel like you could just include... Why is this... So, what is the logic behind spacing? Is it just sentence length? Is it just like, this sentence is X long, so I'm gonna cut it now? Oh, shit. Remember run-on sentences? I see a big one coming. I am here, babies. Fear me. No, that's... Look at how long this fucking sentence is! There's no period in here. Yeah, he really just does new lines whenever the sentence is too long. On a phone? Jesus. Even then, like, what's the benefit to it? Needless to say, Nasa's first introduction to our coach was off to a rousing success, indicated by the startled flap of his wings, and the fact that he was completely taken aback by the loud shouting of the coach. Coach Michaela, what a feminine name, all things considered, Misha, entered the gymnasium, weight in one hand and sandwich in the other, placing the former down to properly bite into the veggie sandwich. Can't he just... If he's holding it with such reckless abandon, he can just fucking eat it with one hand. That, if anything, says a lot about the character. As he's putting it down like a little pansy. He then pretended... Oh, God, he is the fucking heavy! He then pretended to listen to the food. What is that, sandwich? 3 in the mall. Good. The ankylosaurus then shouted, Run, babies, run! Jeremy, Warden, and I immediately got moving. Except for Nasa. We probably should have warned Nasa, but if you come into gymnasiums while the coach was in... You! Me? Nasa said and asked in a meek voice. Go! You were expected to warm up. This is so sitcom-y in its execution, okay? It is so, like, there is a layer of logic that... Here's the problem I have, right? There's the layer of logic of this is an isekai story or like a time travel story and Anon's going back in time and he's in a different world, different body. And then there's the layer of logic that belongs more in a cartoon that's kind of glossing over everything. Like, does Anon's history even matter at some points? It feels like the only thing that it does is it lets him make slightly more informed decisions about the people he knows, but it's not really used as a plot point in a meaningful fashion. Like, you could have just started this off as Anon being someone else, and I don't know if it majorly would have affected things. Hell, like I said, he could just be gay for Nasser and not understand what the hell's going on. He could keep most of the beats the same as well. And he's like, no, Dad, it's not love. I'm not about sex. I saw a guy and I was really confused. And the dad, who probably knows what homosexuals are at this part of history, is like, oh, Anon, fine. I'll believe, and he gives a slap on the back. And he goes with it. Or as the mighty text said, Anon ain't beating the allegations. The problem is, I don't know what the fucking plot is at this point, right? Is Anon trying to... Okay, listen. Is there anything for Anon to achieve? Is the real question. Is there something Anon should be doing at this point? Because otherwise, it's just slice of life with really nothing going on. It is just, I guess I'm here, doing things. Because I live and I'm alive. There's no purpose to any of it. When I wrote a story, every story I write, there's usually like a reason for people to be doing things. The Evelyn transfer thing has its own reasons. The Ophinia exchange student, she's there, she's supposed to impress, but she's kind of trying to unwind because she's no longer with a culture that has, there's a reason people are doing things or are trying things. And that's missing. I don't know what Anon's goal is here. And you can't have that for this long, because it's just weird. Like, there are no twists, there are no moments, there's nothing to look forward to and nothing to appreciate. It's weird. All right. The pterodactyl joined us as we rounded the. Like, here's the question, right? Let me ask you a fun question. What is the point of this scene? What is the point of the scene? Is it to introduce Nasser to some other characters? Because you could have done that in a different scene. You could have had Coach Misha come up to them in another situation and introduce himself and talk. The point is to get Nasser away from his schoolwork. Cool, that's sort of a double duty, but it really isn't, because it's just the reason they're doing it. It itself does not provide a motivation for the environment. Like, what am I hoping happens in the scene? That he meets some people. Very low stakes. It's been low stakes all the way through. And on listening in on someone is especially low stakes, since the point of view character isn't even part of the conversation. Like, that's third-person narration you're just trying to do, but you're not shifting perspective for some odd reason. Instead, Anna now has super ears. And every time I'm like, well, he should have heard that coming. But that doesn't even happen, because nothing ever seems to happen that requires anything other than them just existing. I don't know how to explain it, but it makes this story just extremely banal in its execution. Very sitcom-y. Like, it doesn't really matter, it's just the moment that matters. Which is weird for a book you can put down and slide away and forget about. The pterodactyl joined us as we rounded a lap. He was moving. This is why I say you want to italicize your bold text, because bold text in this font does just not show up. Zooming past as his good wings stretched to provide an aerodynamic boost. The flight pod... The wings can only provide friction, man. They can only reduce the amount of weight he can put on his feet. It can only make things worse. Reduce traction, increase friction. After a few more laps around the gymnasium, we were properly warmed up. Like, that's the joke, okay? That's the fucking joke. He's a winged dinosaur that's on the running team. That's the joke. Jesus. Yet Nasser clearly didn't get the message. Nasser didn't get the message. Clearly on an adrenaline high as I attempted to call out. Nasser, the warm-up's over. He was already halfway through his next lap before realizing that no one else was still running. Earning a few laps from the other people were here? I never got the impression anyone else was in the scene. Especially since you focused on Jeremy setting shit up. Yeah, you definitely didn't... I don't... Yeah, weird. Maybe I'm just blind, but it doesn't feel like that was an important thing you mentioned. Earning a few laughs from the other club members as he returned, an embarrassed look on his face. Whoops, he chuckled nervously. Guess I got a little carried away there. Good, to be honest. I probably should have warned you about that.
If you were in gym with Coach McHill, everyone's expected to warm up, and I mean everyone. Students, teacher, doesn't matter.
That sounds like a great way to get pulled in front of, like, HR and yelled at. You know, like, listen, you can't tell the teacher with a bum leg to warm up, man. He has physical therapy for this. Yeah, Dad even made a substitute teacher run and cry once. He shook his head. Though honestly, that was kind of an overreaction by the substitute. That's why... Is Coach Misha just fucking retarded? Does he not know that you don't talk to new people like this? This sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Like, the substitute should have been a warning sign that someone told him, hey, don't do that, maybe? Like, if a substitute acts like this, I can't imagine a student making a big whiff. Hell, I imagine this has happened before, we just don't know about it. Like, again, it's sitcom-y logic. That people get away with stuff that nowadays you just don't. Nasser nodded before looking at Jeremy with shock and surprise. Wait, he's your father? Yep. Stepdad, really. But he's awesome, so he owns a dad for me. Jeremy answered proudly as Coach McHale approached, standing beside his stepson, crossing his burly arms. You run fast like comrade I knew. You run fast like comrade I knew. But I do not know you. This is NASA, Misha. He's from, The Giganotosaurus then seemed to wince as if trying to remember.
Crap. What school are you from again, NASA?
Volcano High. Volcadero Bluffs? Ah! Coach Mikhail nodded despite the lack of neck with how built he was. I don't think that's healthy. He's gonna swallow and, like, just eat his entire tongue in the process. Da! You come far from me to your bull. Now tell me, is spear still teaching Volcano? That's Scottish! Da, is spear still teaching Volcano? I can't. I just fucking can't, okay? Nasser and I were both surprised by the question, indicating that Mikhail somehow knew spears. It's so awkward. Also, you missed the uppercase there. But it's so weird to have this many distinguishing terms. This works in third-person narration because there's no point-of-view character that has a set opinion of someone, you know? He's not a teacher anymore, but he's a principal now. Da! Very good! Mikhail yelled with joy. Hard-working Neanderthal. Da! He then clapped his hands together, turning away. Now, I get ring ready. Ring? What did he mean? Are you stupid, Nasser? Boxing happens in a ring. Jesus! How can you not know? It's not an uncommon sport, dude. Well, we gotta spar somewhere. Right on, crew. Something goofy happened because we're in a fucking sitcom, even though the situation is extremely traumatic and weird. I don't know why this starts. There's an old saying that it's easy to go from tragedy to it's easier to go from comedy to tragedy than tragedy to comedy. And it's doing neither well. Like, again, what's the point? Is it an exploration? Because if it's trying to explore something, I'm not seeing any exploration happening. It's a little dry. Like a sandwich with no butter. And Nasser lost his footing, gasping at the ring. Warden, okay, of course those two guys get to duke it out. In a normal fucking story, this would be where the two characters deepen their bonds. How does Warden fight? How does Anon fight? How do the two relate? Does one hold back? Does the other go all out? Do they have a little fancy small talk among the punches? I'm just saying, in a proper fight, you make them go, 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 go. You'd make one thing happen, then the other at once. They gear up to fight. Before too long, they're in the ring. Are they really going to fight? Sure goes, yeah, boxing club. Nasser just has no brains, apparently, despite him being implied to be a good enough student that he becomes a fucking doctor. I don't know what to tell you, man. If he becomes a fucking doctor, he's good. Okay? I know that I wasn't smart until I went to college myself, but hey. Warden, bigger weight class. No, so much for... Shut up! I knew I meant to phrase that, but you didn't... I wanted to win. It's a sparring match. It's to learn. Apply something you're supposed to be learning, you idiot. Warden threw a jab, avoiding it, closed the guard, back him edge of the ring. He bounces right back. Again, I like to have the theory that humans are very resilient. Dinosaurs are rigid, but humans are resilient. They can bend before they break, but dinosaurs break. Once you get to them, they break. But humans can just bend and bend and bend and all that. Okay, punch. We're having a fun punch talk, and it's already over. Like, wasn't this already established in the last fight where he fought with Jeremy? Like, that's kind of what you already did. Why isn't Warden getting any emphasis here? Shouldn't Warden get a moment? Considering that he's this weird character that at once is extremely secondary, but also kind of, I don't know. I mean, this is a pretty good layup, all things considered. Slipping low to deliver an uppercut. A snout, like an actual muzzle, must be difficult to make padding for. Like, it's a sparring match, Anna. You're not supposed to murder him. What do you mean Anon wins? It's boxing. There are rounds. Damn, I didn't think you were going to do the thing you just explained to the people reading. Like, I know, okay? But you should reserve the obvious for special occasions. Not as, like, a generic statement. Dress it up. Like, why does he think this? Give us something. Warden just fucking exists. Like, I know that maybe his characterization's intended to be subtle, but don't be subtle, okay? Do is supposedly into fashion. We never get a description of what she wears or how that might reflect into her character. Is she still into fashion? We don't know. At some point, we're just going to get a whole new angle on him. On her, I guess. Okay? Wanted to impress Nasser. So, Anon's not beating the allegations. What a guy. Jesus. Why do you want to impress Nasser? Like, even in Ending 1, you don't really care about him that much. He's like a good friend, but you're not trying to impress him or anything. You little... He's thinking with his beepus. That's all I'm gonna say. Anon isn't the second best. Oh, he is the second best. Like... This is so much telling, not showing. And I'm like, you could show this and it'd be cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's, I think I'm gonna take a little break and have a little snack and, just, try to uncoil my mind. We're not even we're about halfway through, I guess. I'm not optimistic. It's